I gotta find a place with softer rock to sit on. Well, welcome. As you know, we're reading Gary Paulson's The River, and we're coming up to a situation where there's going to be a climax, a big changing event in the story. Pardon me, I got, allergies. The white pines are out. That reminds me. Oh, get out of here, spider. Vitamin C. Especially with this corona stuff. Vitamin C is good for the immunity. So, not bad. Won't kill you. One of the issues, and I hiked into this particular spot. I'm at the peak of a 1,200-foot tall hill in Brimfield, Massachusetts. And I'm going to talk a little bit about lightning. The reason we're talking about lightning is because that's an event that has a huge impact in the story. Remember, Brian and Derek are pretty much alone except for a radio and a basic folding knife. I like to take two things. I got my regular survival knife on my day pack. I also have my multi-tool, which I find very, very indispensable. It's got a little knife blade, but it's also got a little saw blade. It's got a pair of pliers. It's got a couple other things. Screwdriver tips, can opener, bottle opener. Not that any of you guys should be opening up bottles out in the woods, right? Right. Okay. But they only have, a couple of lockback folding knives, clothes on the back, his journal, Derek's journal with his notes and briefcase. And they also have an emergency radio. That was the one concession. Okay. So they could always, tap out if you want to say that. And it's not a bad thing. Okay. Personal locator beacons and things like that are actually an awesome thing for people going into the backcountry because they do save lives. But in this case here, something that can happen, more vitamin C. I gotta collect a bunch of them. Well, what is lightning? Well, for one thing, lightning is static. Is basically static electricity. When there is electricity, always desires to go to ground. Anybody in EW will know that, right? Or you should know that. Okay, so if there's a cloud overhead, if there's a thundercloud, like a cumulonimbus cloud above my head, and it's large enough, it can actually generate a storm. Now, basically what happens is that the molecules of air swirling around generate static electricity, but on a huge scale, up to 125 million volts. And what ends up happening is, at one point, since electricity wants to go to ground, it's going to find the path of least resistance. And it's usually in places like rocky peaks at the top of a hill, any tall trees. Of course, if you look, I'm going to show you this real quick. All right. From what I see here. I'm just going to stand up to indicate that the things do happen here. You notice how you see some dead trees like this one here. This one here isn't dead, but it looks like it was really beat up. There's another dead tree. There's a dead tree right over there. Another one over there. There's a big dead tree here. There's fallen trees over in here. But then you have these young trees that are less than 10 years old, okay, that are growing up. What's the deal with that? Okay. And like I said, you can see I'm near the edge of a cliff. I don't want to go much further because I really don't want to fall. I'm pretty safe where I'm at now. But I am at the peak of a 1,200-foot tall hill. And since I'm at this height, and I'm on this rocky point, this would probably be a good place to get a lightning strike. So again, what happens is that, the static electricity builds up in the atmosphere up to the point where it's got to go somewhere. And generally, it might go from one cloud to another, or it might go straight into the ground. Okay? And that's what the point is here. All right? Because something happens with lightning in the story. You'll find that out in chapters 9 and 10. And then it gets pretty interesting from that point on. Now, again, getting back to why is this all cleared out? Well, this wasn't done by human beings. 9 years ago this week, a very large tornado ripped through this area. Yeah, right where we're standing. So this area does get severe storms. On June 1st of 2011, a tornado was, basically it started right on the Connecticut River near the Eisenhower Bridge in Springfield. And then gained power and momentum as it went eastward. It basically went across Springfield, it went across Wilbraham, it went across Munson, it went across Brimfield, Sturbridge, Southbridge, into Charlton, into Oxford, and then it finally kind of died out somewhere like probably around Whitensville, maybe south of Grafton. But some people did unfortunately perish. A couple of people, I think 3 people died, and there was millions and millions and millions in property damage. Plus, as you can see here, you can see all these trees, these older trees were knocked down. When I came out here just after that tornado, and one of the things I noticed about the landscape was it looked like a gigantic lawnmower ran over everything. You could see bare ground and rock everywhere. Now, that was 9 years ago, so now we got all of these young trees growing up, and it's kind of covering things up. It also makes things kind of dicey when you're hiking through here because it's very thick. I just crawled through all of that to kind of get to you guys so I could set up this little video just to, kind of spruce it up, make it a little more interesting. Okay? So, getting back to our friend Lightning. See if I can set this straight here. I know it might be a little crooked, but, in time I'm going to get more equipment so I can kind of make it a little bit more professional. All right? So anyways, getting back to our friend Lightning. Actually, lightning is needed. It's a natural process. It's just that when we get in its way, then we have some problems. Okay? Now, most lightning strikes occur immediately below a storm cloud, a cumulonimbus cloud. It's rare that you would have a lightning strike in a completely blue sky, although it has happened because lightning can travel up to 10 nautical miles. The standard rule of safety is 5 nautical miles. So if there's a thunderstorm and you're within 5 miles straight line of sight, it would be a good idea to get out of there or take some kind of shelter. I know you probably say, you sound like an old grandpa, but no. I had lightning strike the house one time when I was a kid. It struck right in the door frame as my mom and I were going out to get fish and chip one day. Things like that do happen. It was just kind of amazing. It was like a rifle shot went off in the kitchen. All right, I'm not kidding you. Okay. And getting back to the tall objects, any object that is at the highest point of ground beneath a storm is the tall object, and it tends to have like a 4 times as likely chance of being struck by lightning as anything else. Now, how does lightning hurt us? Well, it can hurt us in a number of ways. It could be either a direct strike or ground currents. When lightning strikes, it just doesn't go straight into a ground like an arrow. It tends to spread out. It can spread out for about 50 to 100 feet. So if you're between that, if you're in that space, what can end up happening is, you can actually have a current go through the ground, go up one leg, up through that leg, and then go down the other leg. And you're going to be a victim of lightning strike. The electricity will go through you. The closer your feet are together, the less likely. And if your feet are touching and you're wearing rubber boots, or at least with a rubber sole bottom, more the better. Okay? A lightning strike can occur very, very fast. It's within a few milliseconds. And the sound when we hear thunder is actually a vacuum created by the heat from the lightning bolt. the voltage of a lightning bolt can go anywhere from 50 to 125, up to, anywhere from like 50,000 volts all the way up to 125 million volts. It's a huge amount of power. Amperage. Now, amperage is the current. That's what can actually do all the damage and kill you. It can go up to 30,000 amps. So that's something I want you guys to kind of keep in mind. Generally, we don't have a problem on center with lightning because it's more of a controlled environment. And if there's something happening, we kind of warn you. But if you're ever outside, it behooves you to know what to do. Now, I did check the weather forecast, and we're supposed to get some showers, but there's no prediction of storms. Now, if I'm in a situation where I can't predict, I don't have access to technology or anything like that, I'm going to have to figure out a way to check the weather. Now, I'm looking, and we got overcast skies. Generally speaking, when I just heard something. And I'm miles away from the woods. It almost sounded like a distant pop of thunder. Could have been a gunshot. In the country, people shoot. So, yeah, I just heard it. I think it's somebody shooting. Yep, it's too rapid. So, anyways, getting back to this, I keep my eye on the sky. If you see large plumes of clouds building up like the shape like a blacksmith's anvil, that's the classic thunderhead type of cloud. That's when you want to immediately take some kind of shelter. And one of the best places to go is actually in your car or a vehicle, because you have rubber tires and metal cage. It acts as a Faraday cage. So if the lightning strikes the vehicle, and I've had lightning strike next to a vehicle while I was in it, and you're perfectly fine. Nothing bad happens. The lightning goes around it and into the ground. You're as safe as can be. If all of a sudden I saw a thundercloud coming around this way here, one of the first things I would do is, I'm at 1,200 feet. I will get down. I will go down further along the hill. I would get at a lower elevation. I would not stand on this tall hill. Okay. So, anyways, regarding lightning safety here, I put out. It was quite a bit of paperwork for you guys to do, but I just wanted, to have you understand something that, go beyond the story to really delve into it, because that's one of the things I like about Barry Paulson's stories. Even though it's fiction, even though it's a novel, it's entertaining. Remember, author's purpose: inform, entertain, persuade. In this case here, its primary purpose is to entertain, but he also informs a little bit, okay? And I like to add to that so that you gain a better understanding, because you may not have come from you might live in an inner city or urban environment, and you're not exposed to all of this stuff that's around us here. So I'm trying to, maybe open up your eyes to a new world, so to speak, if that makes any sense. So, again, getting back to what I was talking about, how lightning can hurt us, it's generally, either a direct strike or ground currents. Ground currents are pretty common. Now, how do you know if there's going to be a lightning strike? Well, this is hard for me because I always get this like super short brush cut. But if lightning was about to strike, I would probably feel all the hair on my body want to rise up, and it's static electricity building. That means it's building up around you, and you might be that tallest point where the electricity wants to go from the sky to the ground, for lack of a better term. So what do you do? Well, if that was the case here, let me do this without trying to kill myself. Put my feet as close together as possible and just kind of crouch down and ball up, just like this. Because if lightning strikes, it's just going to probably go through my feet. And I might have to sit here in discomfort for 10 minutes until the storm passes, but I should be okay. What I don't want to do is something like this, because voltage or amperage going through one leg and then coming out the other leg increases, right? Ask anybody in EW. You know, it's potential difference. That's what can cause the great amount of damage. Okay? So, getting back on my nice soft rock. Let's go over some of the questions. Okay, lightning safety. All right. Okay, the first question was, how fast is a lightning strike? It's a few milliseconds. Number 2, most ground strikes occur immediately below D, a cumulonimbus cloud. 3, the typical lightning strike has a current. It says as, it should be has. Fat finger typing. Sorry about that. It should be A, 30,000 amps. Okay. Number 6, tall objects typically have a blank chance of being struck than shorter ones. Should be B, 4 times as likely. Number 7, I should say 5. Dry snow is an insulator, but wet snow is a conductor. Number 6, there are no reported incidents of lightning accidents on rivers and canyons, probably because the higher terrain above the canyon attracts the leading edge of lightning. That would be true. Number 7, you should avoid long conductors. Long conductors are things like railway tracks, metal fences, flagpoles, metal bridges. Again, number 7 is true. Number 8, if you are caught in the open during a lightning storm, you need to take the lightning position. That involves you squatting or sitting, ball up, put your feet together, and wrap your arms around your legs, just like I showed you. Well, I gave it away. Number 8 is true. And then fill in the blank, okay? Now, 3 ways that lightning can hurt us. Okay? You got electrical shock, secondary heat production, and then you have the explosive force. Because when it goes off like a bomb. So you have explosive force for number 9. And then number 10, Gary Paulson's story of the river, Derek made a mistake. What is that big mistake? It's D. He was using a 2-way radio as the storm was approaching. Now, this is something that's kind of difficult for us because we live in an electronic world. All right, we're always on